to talk about bud vases, how I design them, what bud vases I use. So let's get started. So I just bought a box from Amazon of bud vases. So I'm gonna open it up and see what they look like. I'm literally opening them up right now, so we'll see how they are. For bud vases, I like to go to thrift stores and shop for them. Here you are. But I thought I'd try out these Amazon ones and see how they work. Because it takes a lot of work, obviously, to go to thrift stores and go to a million different thrift stores and suss them out. So I got these ones off Amazon. So this is a pack of 12. And I'm just gonna undo them here and take a look at them. So they've got a quite small opening, and that's what you need when you're looking for a bud vase. When I'm doing a bud vase arrangement, like on a tablescape, I love having the different like shapes. So this is a nice pack I got from Amazon. They're all small and they all have this small opening, but they've got all these different designs. So I'm excited to try these out and see what they look like. When you're getting a bud vase, you need to make sure they're not too tall as well, because then you kind of lose the aspect of it being like a bud vase and it becomes more like a vase. And then I've also got my pruners. I want to use pruners when I'm cutting flowers because I need something really sharp, because if they're not sharp, like for example these scissors, they kind of crush the flower stems a little bit, and then obviously crushed flowers can't uptake water very well, and then they're going to die prematurely. So I've got my pruners here. In terms of flowers, I just went and picked a bundle of posies from my garden this morning. I don't even know what the names of these are, but what my goal here was to pick like obviously a very wildflower inspired vibe going on here, and I wanted a lot of different textures. So I even like went into my herb garden and I grabbed some mint here. This one is mint. Good morning, thanks for joining. We're talking about bud vases and how I design them. So this here is mint. It smells super awesome. Here's a hot tip though. I planted this in my garden and it just takes over, like it goes everywhere. In my garden, I've got a lot of rock and I really struggle to find flowers that will actually like live in the rock. But this mint just like finds a spot and plants itself in the rock. So it's not amazing if you don't want like mint to take over everything. Good morning, people who are joining. We're talking about bud vases. This here is chive from my garden, and because of the way the light is in my garden, it curved and was searching for light, so that's super fun to put in a bud vase. And then I've got daisies. I actually picked these on my way to drop my son off at daycare this morning. This is a weed, but I love the texture on it. It's just starting to flower, so it's got these pretty little tips on it. So I really picked texture stuff. And what that's interesting is like if you're doing a wildflower inspired, weeds actually are even like good for wildflower inspired. This is off Coral Bells, so it's just the flowering part of it. And then this one here, I don't know, it's some type of geranium. Hey, where are you from, ma'am? I'm from Canada, from British Columbia. This is some sort of a weedy type thing. It's a geranium, and it again just like self-seeds itself everywhere. And then Scabiosa is my absolute favorite. I plant this in my garden everywhere. I just love the little ruffly heads on it. Okay, so let's start talking about how I arrange my bud vases. So I've got my bud vases. I'll just give it a little tip down here. Yep, I'm wearing green on green. Cool. So I've got a bud vase here, and when I'm filling the bud vases with flowers, and every flower, I'm going to change it so you can see me here. You want to make sure that there is no leaves that go in the water line. So see this one here, it's got all these, they're not even really like leaves, they're like prickly type things. You don't want these to go in the water because that turns the water all gross and then your flowers won't live as long. So you can just, this one you can just kind of like strip like that. They're easy to come off, but other flowers you might need to use like your actual pruners to trim the leaves off. And then if I'm testing this out, so see if I put it in there that's like way too top heavy, it kind of looks like a crane. So I'm gonna take my pruners and just give it a trim. And that's looking a little bit better, but just having the one there looks kind of like lonely. And so I love this one because it's got like the greenery that I kind of left on the side is really pretty, but just alone it's kind of lonely. And you can tell even just now that I want something really narrow, because otherwise I would have to put like a ton of flowers, and then it has less of like the bud vase vibe and going more of like the vase vibe. So I'm gonna add my mint in here, same thing, I'm pulling off the leaves. So this was really easy to pull off, but you wanna make sure you're not hurting the stem, because any sort of wound on the stem is an opportunity for bacteria to get in and then ruin the water. I'm gonna grab a stool because I'm not loving this angle. Hold on, one second. Okay, got my stool. Okay, this is much better. Much better. Okay. Just gonna angle it. There we go. Okay, now we're in business. Okay, and I can see better. So I've got two in here and they're a little bit tall still. They're kind of giving me still like the crane appearance. So I'm gonna give them a little bit of a cut. And then you can see now that I've cut it, I have to strip some of these off to make sure that there's no leaves in the water line. So I've got two in there. So it's starting to kind of resemble a bit of a bud vase. Now let's see what else I want to grab in here. I think I'm going to add in these daisies. I would normally like love this little side shooty thing here. It's super cute, but it will end up, if I put it in, it's going to end up under the water line. So I got to remove it. If I pulled this off, it would damage the stem. So here's where I need to use my pruners to cut that off. And then I can use my fingers just to kind of strip these ones here and stick that puppy in here. A little tall. And so I kind of always test out before I fully cut, because once you cut, you can't go back. So that is actually pretty cute for like a wildflower inspired bouquet, or a bud vase, sorry, to put on a table. I could leave it as 3 if I'm trying to go really minimalist and trying to like save money. But if I wanted to go a little bit more, maybe I could add something else in. So these coral bells are so cute. Here's a hot tip. If you kind of test it, like how short do I want to cut it? If you take this and like put it alongside, that kind of gives you, here I'll back it up so you guys can see. You like can kind of tell where that would land. So let's try like at this level. That looks a little bit more like reasonable height wise. So then I know that I can go and just give it a cut here. And then I can also tell what's going to be below the water line, and these ones I'm going to need to cut. I could tell that one was going to damage the stem, so I'm just going to use my pruners to give it a cut and then stick this one in here. So now I can tell, like, I think that's maybe a little too high, so I'm just going to give it another bit of a cut here and then try it again. There, I like that much better. So that's going to be like a completed bud vase for me for this sort of wildflower type. Okay, so let's take another container and let's see what we got here. Chives, love chives. I'm gonna add some of these in. Let's add in some of my scabiosa. So these ones have kind of 2 flowers in a stem, and if I put these in, I'd have all these leaves in it. So in this one, I'm gonna choose to cut them into 2 different pieces. And then I don't want to damage the stem, so just using my pruners to cut them off. So I've got kind of a purple on purple vibe going here. Even though it's still all purple and it's kind of mono, because they're all different sizes and shapes, the texture and textures, that's gonna look really beautiful when we're done. Again, the hot tip to see how tall do I want to cut this. So if I put it up against the vase, then I can tell how tall it's going to end up being. And then I can give it an initial cut right off the bat to see, like, if I cut it here, it looks kind of funny. So I'm looking about right about here. So you can tell now that these 3 are all at the same height. So I'm not loving that. I want to have a bunch of different heights in here. So I'm going to take one out and then give it a little bit of a prune to get it a little bit shorter. There we go. Now I don't have everything the same like height. And then I'm gonna add in some coral bell foliage for some texture. This guy here, again, putting it up to sort of assess what height I want it at, and then using pruners to trim it a little bit shorter. So we can go like full bouquet here and like add a bunch of greenery, add a bunch of flowers, or we can just go really minimalistic. It's totally up to you and the vibe that you're trying to go for. So you might have noticed here, I haven't added in water yet. I kind of like to do that at the end because this only takes me a very short time to do. So this is why this is a great type of thing to do for a DIY bouquet, because these are so simple. Like there's not a, I mean, like there's artistic vibe here. I'm kind of telling you guys a few tips. Like here's another tip. These I want to be different sized. I don't want them to be kind of at eyeball level. And then I'm just going to give them a pruner here. But if you're doing for a wedding, this is a great thing to DIY because you'll save yourself a ton of time and it's really easy to do. So this is way too long. Let's give this one a little trim. And I don't know how long this takes, like 3 minutes to make one. So this is really starting to gather shape here. And these are just weeds, so it's super fun to just add in some weeds because they've got beautiful texture. This is a seed pod from, I don't know, some sort of flower in my garden. I'm gonna add that in because I just picked it because I love the texture. I don't know if you can maybe tell by now, this kind of vibe here is like a textured vibe. Oh my God, that looks so cute. It's just like puffing out here. And I feel like it needs maybe a little greenery. Let's add in my mint. All my flowers you can see are kind of like curving because of the light that's going on in my garden. I have like a really shaded garden with lots of oak trees, and so my flowers like seek out light. Okay, so I put that in and I do not like that at all. Like it's very overpowering because I've got kind of like a whimsical, really light vibe going on here. Like look at this movement. And so that greenery did not fit it. So you know what? I'm just gonna call this done. I think that's super pretty and I think it goes really well with this one if I were to like put it on a table. Okay, so I've got a ton of flowers here. Let's talk about what else I want to add in. This one here is like a weedy geranium thing that I found. I'm going to cut this into a couple different pieces and just see what it looks like in a vase. I'm curious, do you guys call it a vase or a vase? I never know. I'm from Canada. Oh, see, look, that is not a vibe. So if I wanted to use this still, I could keep this piece, which is okay, and then just cut off this one that was like way wild. And then let's see. This one is kind of like trying to escape. Because this is just a weed, I'm not sure actually how it's going to hold up in a vase of water. I'm just kind of making this for fun. So I don't know how it's going to hold up. If you're doing this like for your wedding, you would for sure want to test out, like before you just start like picking random weeds and putting them in a vase, like test out that they actually are okay up in water. This, I don't know the name of this one. Does anybody know the name? Is it like maybe a potentilla? Maybe? I don't know. It's beautiful and it grows huge. I've got it in multiple spots in my garden. Way too big. So now the choice is here, like if I cut it down, let's see, let's experiment. This is just for fun. I'm not making this for like anything particular. So let's see what happens if I cut it down, what that's gonna look like in my vase. That actually works pretty good, but I could have also like cut it into 2 pieces. So I've got this kind of tall one here. I've got these branchy ones going off. I think I need something like more in the front. So luckily I've got all these daisies that I cut in a field. So let's add in a couple of daisies here. So if you're making bud vases, like not using like random flowers from a garden, and you want this wildflower type bouquet, I would do Scabiosa for sure, which is this guy here. Another really good one is Lisianthus. I don't have any of these here. I just kind of like checked out my garden. But Lisianthus is a really good one. Spray Rose, Chamomile, which is like a daisy. Those are the ones that I definitely like go to if I'm doing like a wildflower inspired bouquet. Oh, what do you guys think of that? How's that shaping up. Like it's very wild, but I mean, that's the whole point of what I'm trying to do here. Like I'm not trying to do anything like curated. I'm just trying to have something like really, really wild. And here's my chives. Like, oh my God, look at these chives. This is huge. I'm gonna put some chive in, and it's really pretty because it's got like, it's just starting to open. So I think that's so beautiful. And it just has great movement. Oh my God, look at it moving. Too tall. Let's cut this puppy down. And another thing I like to kind of experiment with is like the seed pods of stuff. So in this one here, like the flower's gone, and this is just the seed pod. Can you see that? And that's really pretty. I really like that. And then I also grabbed like, I think it's potentilla, but maybe somebody after they watch this can tell me what it is. So this is it as like the flower here. And then the flowers are off these ones, and it's just kind of in the middle of it. And I just love the texture. But I'm not gonna add any here because I've already got this flower, but I've got another vase here. These are just my Amazon vases. I'm gonna keep it for this one because I think it's just beautiful. I think the movement of it. Daisy, I could actually do a vase. I'm sure somebody will tell me after what they call it. So this is just Daisy, so way too tall. Let's put it alongside so I can kind of suss out how tall I want it. Take these leaves off and stick her in there. So 3 is not enough, so I'm gonna add in some more. Oh, I know what we can talk about. How do you transport these to your venue? So these are like kind of wobbly. What's really nice about them is because this is like wildflower-ish, it doesn't matter if these sort of move. Like what we're more so doing is like cutting them to the size that we want, but it's fine. Like if they like wiggle around, like it doesn't matter. It's just the vibe I'm going for. But when you pack these in the car to travel to your venue, actually, because these came from Amazon, like they come in this little packet thingy, so I totally could put them like that and then just take like a towel or something and like shove it alongside it. That would actually be great to keep it from tipping over. But if you didn't have something like this, you could find some sort of like Tupperware container and then just shove towels all around it. And I wouldn't transport them with like full water. So if you're keeping these like keep them hydrated, you would fill the water up. But if you're transporting them, like put the water like really low, so that way there's like when you travel, there's not like water sloshing, and that has a potential to like dump out. So that's how I would transport them. And then you can decide like, do you want to make these at home or at the venue? So if you were making them at home, then you say you're gonna do like 100 bud vases. Like that's a lot to like pack up and bring to the venue. So you can decide kind of how much time do you have. But for sure, before I went, I would like get them already like cut up, because this is like the bundle of flowers that I picked from my garden. And so there's like a lot of waste, right? So like this is way too long, and then I need to remove all these leaves, etc. And so that takes a little bit of time, just sort of like prepping, like removing the leaves and cutting them and all that. So if I wanted to do these on site, say I didn't have like a good way to transport them, like a good enough vehicle sort of thing, I would pre-cut them all, and then I would just have the flowers maybe in a bucket of water and then have my vases separately so I can do them on site. So I love this. This is just like daisies in a bud vase. Makes a super cute bud vase. Hello to the folks who just joined. I'm just talking about bud vases and how I design them in a very wildflower vibe. So this one I put like a couple different things, potentially a potentilla, I don't know the name, some random weed. I'm a little bit low-key stressed it would not last in water, like this one here. It's got this pretty purple flower. Like weeds can totally be beautiful too, but I don't know if this is gonna last in water because it's just a weed, and some chives. But I got kind of a more mixy thing, and then this is just daisies. Oh my god, imagine this like on a table, like 10 of them just full of daisies. How many of these would you need? So if you're doing kind of an 8-foot table, if you put one on, it would look really funny because you have like 8-foot table and like bloop, one of these. Not a good look. How many would you need? I would say like probably 5 on an 8-foot table. I had a brain fart, like 3 to 5. But if you go below 3, you're really getting into like, does it look intentional or does it look like you didn't own enough vases? So I would for sure like make sure that you have enough, like for sure 5, but then I would always do a little bit more and order a little bit more flowers, because you don't want to not have enough and then have like one table that has 1 flower. Oh, look at this guy, I accidentally broke it. So there, that's a great illustration of why you need to order more, because I broke this. Poor little daisy. This mint, so pretty. Let's add some mint in with this one. So I hope that like me showing this kind of shows you guys how easy it is to DIY this. Like, it doesn't take a tremendous amount of effort. I'm just like taking my random flowers and putting them into vases and just varying the height of them. Oh, look, here's a good example of how I like the texture stuff. So this is a scabiosa. So this is the like scabiosa in flower. And then this is like the scabiosa pot, I guess. And this is amazing texture. This is another texture one here. And so even though it doesn't have a flower on it, I'm obsessed with texture. That's kind of the theme of these bud vases, is just all this texture. So I'm adding in all these sort of spent flowers just to get a really nice mix of texture and size and shape. I was really loving kind of this weed that I found in my garden, but it looks like it's already kind of wanting to wilt. So I'm not sure that I'm going to, I have it in 1, but I'm gonna try it out and see. Let me know if you guys are curious. I'm gonna know how it ends up working out, if it actually like lasts. Add a couple little daisies there. So there you go. There's another little one here. So I put a ton of flowers in this one, but this is like, these are all really tiny. So if you're deciding like how many flowers to put in, it depends like what flowers you're choosing. So if you were doing like the bigger size flowers, like say a spray rose, you could do like 1 spray rose and some smaller flowers. So say like some chamomile. But if you're doing like little ones, or if you want something like really wild, like this kind of daisy one, that's where you need more. So generally people do 1 to 3 flowers per vase, but this one here obviously is like super wild. This mint I do not love. Like, look, all these are kind of dainty and small, and then this mint is just like, hello, I'm mint. So that is not a good look. But that's the lovely thing about flower arranging, is it's never forever. So I can get rid of that if it doesn't suit my vibe. So I've got a couple here now, all different sizes and shapes of these bud vases. I'm loving these Amazon ones. I think they're like $30 or something. So cheap. You could go to a thrift store and thrift these, but that might take you time, and Amazon shows up at your door, and how cool is that? So anyways, that's my spiel about how to make bud vases. I hope you guys learned something today and that you enjoyed learning. Thanks for watching, and subscribe. Would love to chat to you guys in the future. Bye.